I use filters all the time as a landscape photographer. K&F Concepts contacted me about a month ago asking if I would be interested in taking a look at their new line of magnetic circular filters. And as I said, as a landscape photographer, I pretty much keep a circular polarizer filter on my lenses all the time. And occasionally I'll use a neutral density circular filter as well. If something's bright and I can't get that shutter speed quite long enough, that's where an ND filter comes in super handy. If you've ever used the screw-on type circular filters, you know how awful they are trying to get them threaded on, or the possibility of cross-threading it or getting it off if it gets on too tight, or if it's cold and you got gloves on, how much of an absolute nightmare that can be. Lately, most companies have come out with a magnetic filter system. There are a bunch that are available now. First, it was pretty exclusive to a couple of brands, but now pretty much everybody's doing it. And that just goes to show you how popular and, in my opinion, how great an idea it is. So K&F Concepts sent me a 3-set filter system. It's all circular, they're all magnetic. It was a circular polarizer and then 2 ND filters, all in a nice little pouch. And it's got several ways to carry it. You can use a carabiner and just attach it to whatever, or you can Velcro it to your backpack strap or to your belt, or you can just stick it in your camera bag. It's pretty small. I like the fact that it's got a dual closure. It's got a magnetic flap that covers the top, and it's got a zipper to allow you to open it up as well. I usually just leave the zipper open because I need to access the filters routinely, and then I just do the magnetic flap over the top and nothing's going to fall out no matter what. So I really like this little concept of having a magnetic flap on it. The case actually holds four filters. You can see there's 2 here because my circular polarizer stays on my camera all the time, as well as the screw-on. There's 1 filter, or a filter holder I should say, that screws onto the camera and then it stays there. We're going to take a look at the polarizer, and we're going to take a look at the 2 ND filters that they sent me. And the big thing when you're dealing with these magnetic filters, or any filter of any brand, is you want to be looking for color casts and vignetting. The K&F filter system comes with a nice lens cap that's also magnetic. Let's take the lens hood off. It's nice to be able to take this hood on and off without having to remove the lens cap first. Some filter systems have a lens cap that you have to remove before you can get your hood off. I like being able just to take it off or leave it off and not have to worry about putting it on in any specific order. So getting it on and off is as simple as just getting your fingernail there and then pulling it off. One thing I've noticed about the K&F is that it's super easy to pull both of them off at the same time. It takes a little bit of finesse in order to grab just the lens cap. So I think that might be why some of the filter manufacturers make the lens cap just a little bit bigger so it's easier to get it separate. It's hard to grab just the cap, and I wish that was a little bit easier. I wish there was a easier, I don't know if the magnet's too strong here or if the cap and the cap is not is also too strong, but it's too easy to grab both of them. I would like to be able to get this off easier without taking the polarizer with it. Still, with a little bit of practice, you get your, especially if you're not wearing gloves, you can just get your fingernail right there and kind of just peel it away. And I think that that's just a practice issue of how to get it off. So I've already gotten a lot better. I've gotten a lot better at doing that. So what I got behind me is just a nice little creek near my house. And again, we're going to be looking at the circular polarizer first. And we're going to be looking for 2 things. We're going to look at how well it cuts that glare off of the water, kills that reflection so I can see all of those pretty colored rocks underneath the water. That's number 1. Then number 2, we're going to take some photos with and without the filter, because the real test is going to be, is Is it a neutral color cast with the filter, or is it introducing some blues or magentas or some other colors that we don't want in our photograph? So I'm going to show you what it looks like in the camera here. I'm going to use the polarizer, and we're going to go from fully polarized, which is there, and as I turn it, you'll watch how bright and how much glare comes onto the water. And then as I continue to turn it, then we go back to fully polarized, and that does a really nice job right there of pulling all that glare and letting me see into the water. So here's the ND8 filter. It's quite a bit darker than the polarizer, and we're going to give it a shot. It should kill about 3 stops of light. All right, now we're going to take it off. We're going to do a shot without it. Check for color cast. All right, that's in the bag. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to put the circular polarizer with one of the ND filters just to see how bad that vignetting gets at 24 millimeters. So with the polarizer and the ND64 on, we're looking at a 10-second exposure, which is way more than I could ever get if I was shooting with no filters. And we'll get one shot again with no filters to compare it against. And with no filters, that exposure goes from 10 seconds to a 20th of a second. The power of these filters. Now that we got all the photos done, let's get them on the computer and see how they look. So we're back in the office, and we're going to take a look at the images taken with the K&F Concept filters. This first image we're going to take a look at is the circular polarizer and just how well it pulls the glare off the water. And we'll look at it with the filter on in both of these images. One of them will be polarized and the other one not polarized. So we're going to take a look at these, comparing them side by side. It's pretty obvious what we've got going on. The one on the left is polarized, the one on the right is not. If we zoom into 100% and we look down here in the foreground where the glare was really, really bad, on the right, you can see nothing. You can see absolutely nothing. But here on the left, it looks really, really good. We'll check over here on the sides, just kind of move around the image. But overall, it looks fantastic. Their polarization is doing exactly what it needs to do. These next two images are going to be with the polarizer on and then the polarizer totally off the camera. The exposure will stay the same, or as close as I can get it. The thing we're going to be looking at in this instant is any kind of vignetting at our corners and any kind of color cast that might be introduced due to the addition of the filter. Now again, a polarizing filter is going to add a little bit of saturation to the image. So again, these are unedited files, and I've just matched the exposure as best I can. I'll zoom in. And again, the polarization is absolutely doing a great job. Let's look at our corners. We'll go over here to this far right corner all the way over. And you can see here on the left, this is the one with the filter on it. There's the smallest amount of vignetting. It's very, very minimal. It is extremely minimal, but it is there, right there in the corner. And there's obviously none here on the right. But everything else looks absolutely exactly the same. It looks perfect. Everything looks great. Take a look over here at this log with all the different gradations of colors. And it looks really, really good. I don't see any issues whatsoever. Let's go to the next image. These next two images are going to be with the ND8 filter on. No polarizer, just the neutral density that kills 3 stops of light. So that'll be the one on the left, and the one on the right is with no filter whatsoever. Taking a look at it, they look almost identical, but you'll notice that one of the great effects and the reasons to use a neutral density filter is over here on the left-hand side. It's a little bit smoother in the water. The ripples start to even out as it goes, which is really, really, really nice. So let's take a look down here for our vignetting. That's the other thing we're always checking for with these filters. And yes, there's some more vignetting than it was with the polarizer with this ND8 right here. It's not bad. It is, again, I'm at 100%, and we're talking a very, very small fraction of that corner, which is easily fixable if we were to go into develop mode and just kind of crop it a little bit, or if we could just use the healing brush on it if we really needed to. It's evident in all the corners, even up here in the upper right, the smallest amount of vignetting. But otherwise, I see no color cast whatsoever. It looks absolutely identical as I scroll through my image, looking from left to right. Absolutely looks great. Now we're looking at the ND64 filter. This is killing a whole bunch of light. And again, you're going to really see the difference in the look of the water, which is the exact reason that one of the predominant reasons that I would use such a heavy-handed neutral density filter. When we zoom in, you can see how smooth this water is versus over here on the right, all those ripples that's with a faster shutter speed of 13th versus 5 seconds. So it's a huge difference in our shutter speed, and that allows us to really smooth that water out and get rid of all those ripples. Like the look of it a lot better. Again, we're taking a look at our vignetting. Let's go down here to this bottom right corner and we'll take a look at that. And yes, just the smallest amount, and oddly not as much as on the ND8 filter. This 64 has less vignetting in this corner. Don't know why. And again, it's a small amount. This is easily fixable by just cropping the smallest amount in, or you can use like content-aware fill or whatever other ways, generative AI that you might want to do to correct that issue if you needed to have all of it. Let's just take a quick look up here at the very top of it. And the smallest amount of vignetting up here, none over here, but the colors, spot on. I see absolutely no color cast whatsoever. We're going to go over here to this log, check that out. The grass, the yellows, the greens, absolutely perfect. This last test was an extreme example. I used the ND64 and I used the circular polarizer on top of that. Rarely would I ever do that actually while I was out shooting. But if you needed to polarize and you needed to really stop that light down, this would be one way to do it, is to stack those filters. Before you even say it, yes, it's going to vignette. It's going to vignette a lot more because, again, we're stacking those filters and we're increasing the width of those filters that are sticking out from that wide angle lens. So let's take a look at just how bad it is, and let's take a look and see how those colors fare. We're going to zoom in, and at 10 seconds versus a 20th of a second, look how much better the water looks with that smoothed out, with no ripples in it, and that polarizer pulling off that glare. It looks so much better. I mean, it just makes these greens pop. And again, those filters are going to add just a little bit of vibrance and saturation to our image, which really helps as well. Let's zoom in over here on the bottom right. And yeah, it's a lot of vignetting, I'm not going to lie. But we got 2 filters on, not 1. And otherwise, we take a look here in the dirt. I see absolutely no difference. And this is pretty tough for 2 filters to be stacked on top of one another and come away this good. You're asking a lot for that. Back here, it looks fantastic. It looks really good. Shadows look good. Over here on our log, yeah, if there's a difference, I'm not seeing it. So to sum up the K&F Concept magnetic filter system, number 1, super fast, super easy to swap out your filters. No more threading, no more cross-threading, no more aggravation. It was a little fiddly getting the cap off, but I think with a little bit of practice, you can eliminate that, and be able to do it all the time. The CPL performance was outstanding. It did a great job of pulling those reflections off the water to allow you to see that color underneath. And again, those CPLs and ND filters are going to just give you a little bit of saturation, a little bit of bump in the color and the vibrance in your images. If you're still using the screw-on type filter systems or those large pieces of glass or anything else, you owe it to yourself to upgrade to a magnetic filter system. K&F Concepts have all sizes. They have all types of kits. You can buy them individually, or like the one that they sent me had, the polarizer, the ND8 and the ND64 in there with it. So you can kind of customize each kit for your camera. If you follow the link in the description below over to K&F Concepts website and use the coupon code JamesParker at checkout, you can get 12% off your order. That's going to wrap up this week's video. Hope you liked it. Hope you got something out of it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel. I appreciate it very, very much. And we'll see you next time.